Ladies and gentle dudes, before you accept your first commission, it's very important to have a few things locked down first, or at least considered. The single most important thing when it comes to trying to place value on your work is to truthfully and honestly assess yourself. Truthfully think about your skill level. Think about the value of your time. Think about what you offer the customer and why they should choose you. A great video that helped me gain this perspective was Luke's video over at Luke's APS, shown here. Now I want to talk about pricing. Before you accept your first commission, spend some time thinking about and building a price list. This price list should include the value of your time, should include what services you offer. Sometimes there are discounts on there, such as like if you use one of your models for the customer as opposed to them sending something, there could be a discount there. One of the best ways to think about your pricing would be to use what I call the product to price ratio. What are you able to give them, and for how much are you willing to accept that work? For me, I've been told I'm relatively inexpensive. And I'm totally fine with that since this is a hobby. It's not my sole source of income. I don't have to charge extravagant numbers because I'm not using this to feed my family. This is just something that I'm doing to help out with my hobby. By me having a lower price, that's kind of my way of saying thank you so much for investing in me and taking a chance on me. I'm not a studio. I'm not a commission painter full time. This isn't my job. So I'm not able to dedicate and devote 8 hours plus every single day on a commission. Unfortunately, that does mean that commissions take a little bit longer, and I kind of offset that time by a lower price. On the other hand of that same coin though, I do have very limited free time. As I said before, I'm a married father of 3 with a very active lifestyle. I have a full-time job. I'm also going to school online right now. And these are all things that take away from my time. I like to think of my available time as kind of like a pie with 24 slices. Now, 10 hours of that are immediately taken away by work. When I come home, I like to give the first 4 to 5 hours of my time pie to my children. I think it's important that I'm there and I want to be with them and I want to make sure that they know that they're loved, and I don't just walk right into my office as soon as I get home and start painting. After the kids go to bed, I spend a couple hours with the wife, which generally leaves from 11 p.m. to 1 in the morning for me to do everything else. That's when I do my homework. That's when I paint or play games or have free time. Those 2 hours then become very, very, very precious. And so I have to determine that if something is going to take those 2 hours of my free time, it's going to be worth that time. Now, in order to get a more complete understanding of your pricing, you need to determine what kind of pricing standards you're going to paint to. Are you going to be a painter that offers multiple tiers of standards, or are you going to paint to one quality level? Personally, I offer tiers because I think that it's very important that you at least let the customer know that you as the painter, that I as a painter, see the value in having different standards. I'm not going to charge someone who wants to, pay me for 5 D&D characters, either home printed or whatever, the same I would charge for a Games Workshop Primark. I don't think that's fair because the amount of time and the amount of detail in the model is extremely different. If you have a model that's got tons of detail and you want all that detail captured, then by all means, pay for that extra level of visual quality. But if you're going to have like a Gloomhaven mini or a home printed model or like a WizKids or super old model that doesn't have a lot of detail, or it's super tiny, or you can't give it the same amount of attention that you can a much bigger model, I don't think it's fair to charge the same rate for that model. That's my personal opinion. I know there are tons of people out there that only ever paint to one quality, and that's totally fine. If you're going to be known as the person that gives it your all and that that's how you paint, then that's you. You're the artist. You're the one that's deciding what your time is worth. I recently watched a video by Redbeard Boss, link up here, where he states your first few commissions should be painted to your best ability. Now, I personally agree with this because I think that for a representation of your work, you want the first photos out there, the first instances, to be the best that they possibly can be. This is going to bring in the people. As time goes on and the amount of commissions you get increase, the amount of tools you have expand, you can adjust your prices. You can adjust how much it costs. You can add different layers of quality. You can, all these things, once you've established yourself as that's your quality, that's where you stand. From there, you can add higher levels. Once you get better, you can reduce it to like, hey, this is going to offset my costs a little bit. It's all up to you. Remember, this is your business. But take time to think about it, because it's very important to sit there and actually consider what you're going to do. I want to take this time to talk about the pros and cons of painting in tiers as opposed to painting to one standard. When it comes to discussing your tiers with your customer, be honest and be real. You're not going to want to push your display level quality on a WizKids miniature. Let's be real. Because a customer is going to appreciate that more than they are going to appreciate your skill. Okay? They're going to appreciate the fact that you kind of talked them out of spending a ton of money on something, when in reality they're not going to get the level of detail that standard requires. Open lines of communication between you and your customer are what's most important. Now, should you decide to only paint to one standard, that's different entirely. I don't do that. I know people that do. And I think for them, it's important to let them know that your time at painting to this standard is worth X amount. That way they know that for as long as you estimate this model is going to take to paint, they're going to pay that amount. Obviously, more detailed and intricate model is going to take longer to get this higher level of quality on that miniature. When it comes to calculating your painting cost, it's also very important to consider add-ons, such as cleaning and assembling, basing options, magnetization, sculpting, customization, etc. Now, you have to decide which of these things are going to be standard and which are going to be like upgrades. In the end, it all comes down to you and what you feel your time is worth. For me, I consider the cost of the materials as well as the amount of time it's going to take me to get it done. There are some things that I have standard, no matter what. I will always, at minimum, clean and assemble the model to the same standard, whether it's tabletop or display. That way I have the best canvas to paint, whatever level they want. It's all the same. Also, bare minimum, I will paint the base, whatever color they want. If you want flocking or tufts or want me to construct things like a nicer display style, that's going to be an upgrade. You're going to pay for that. Things like drilling barrels, that's a standard, because everywhere you look, if it's a commission or if it's a studio or somewhere else, they drill the barrels. I don't feel, to make myself more marketable, it makes a lot of sense to charge somebody per barrel what other companies are doing as their standard. Now, don't always base your prices and things off of studios. They have tons of people, they have tons of time. That could just be something that's easy for them. So for you, if it's going to be daunting and you don't have the dexterity to drill 200 barrels, then charge for it. That's totally fine. Personally, I split my add-ons into 3 categories: standard, basic upgrade, and premium upgrade. For my standard add-ons, I include painted base, drilled barrels, cleaning mold lines, and matte varnish clear coats. In the basic upgrades categories, I have services like magnetization, upgraded basing, and simple conversions. For my premium services, I include my display basing, green stuff sculpting, and more advanced converting requests. To sum up this entire section, it's important for you to sit down and think about what you're going to charge for. In the end, as I've said, it all boils down to the relationship and communication between you and your customer. Sometimes you might let an extra charge here or there slide if it means you're going to secure more business. As an example, if the customer is taking out a massive commission, you might consider dropping the price of your upgraded bases. After you've figured out your rate and how you're going to charge for things, the next important step is to figure out your target audience and how to reach them. I'm planning on making a more in-depth video in the future, but for now I'm just going to breeze over the main points. Know that there are several resources out there, either free or paid, to help you get more audience. Something to think about is your level of exposure is entirely dependent upon the amount of effort you're willing to expend. For the simple, easy way to attract more customers, I highly recommend Instagram and Facebook. Now, these are free. Caveat for this, I recommend creating an Instagram and Facebook account specifically for your business. You want these accounts to be representations of your work as a commission painter. For example, a picture of your cat's birthday party, although awesome, might not be what your customer is looking for. The next step would be to actively search out specific Facebook groups directly related to your hobby. For example, I love the Space Wolves. So the very first thing I did is I joined as many Space Wolves and Warhammer and mini painting pages as I could find. I joined all those groups and I started posting actively. Just posting pictures, not links to my site, not links to anything, not anything at all displaying the fact that I am a commission painter. My hope was the quality of my work would be enough to drag them to my page where they would say, oh wow, he's open for commissions. That's kind of soft marketing. Now, for the next advanced, mega, ultra level, you can always go to your friendly local game store once the world stops falling apart. Walking into a game store with a few examples of your models and some business cards is a very easy way to build a relationship between you and the store. If that store allows you to place your models in a display and put your business cards up front, that is loads and loads of marketing. Now, one thing to be wary of, if you're going to go into a relationship like this with the store, make sure that you have something written down. Be wary of word of mouth agreements. It's hard to determine exactly what you or the store are owed if there's nothing at all stating the services that they can expect and the amount of marketing you can require. I know this has been a major info dump, and thank you so much for sticking by. This has all been an attempt to get those creative brain juices swirling around about how you're going to set up your business, how you're going to prepare for that question of, well, what are your prices? How much do you charge? These are all things you got to consider. Now, consider them in your own way. Consider what you're worth and what your value is and what you can bring to the customer. There are going to be people that want the best possible work for $10. There are some that are surprised by your low prices. It all depends on who you are, what's important to you, and how you value your time. Now, if you're someone that's considering becoming a commission painter and you have a specific question about something I either brought up or failed to mention, please ask below. On the other hand, if you are a commission painter and you thought of something that I haven't, please put that down below as well. Thank you so much for watching and have an awesome day.
And we up in our growlings when people change, but not us. And we just chillin', kicking it, kissed by the sun. Could be so